Prime Minister Narendra Modi exposed Pakistan's state-sponsored terror at the Central Hall, Westminster, in the United Kingdom. He gave details about how India carried out a surgical strike in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and then called up Pakistan and told them that we've killed Pakistani terrorists, go retrieve your bodies. That is one reality. It's also a sad reality that one surgical strike has not deterred Pakistan or stopped Pakistan's state-sponsored terror. So what's the road ahead? Joining me now on the broadcast is Commodore Uday Bhaskar, one of India's best-known strategic thinkers from the School of Policy Studies. Also with me is Sambit Patra, BJP leader and spokesperson, Jaiveer Shergill, Congress spokesperson and leader, and also Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, the man who planted the tricolour at the Siachen Glacier on 13th of April 1984. Welcome on the show, gentlemen. Sambit Patra, I want to start with you, sir. One surgical strike doesn't seem to have deterred Pakistan. Terrorist activities continue, ceasefire violations continue, terrorist training in Pakistan continues, no action against Hafiz Saeed. Does the government have a Pakistan policy and how to deal with Pakistan? Because surgical strike doesn't seem to have worked, sir.
You're absolutely right that one surgical strike probably has not deterred Pakistan to the extent that terrorism might have been wiped out across the border. I firmly believe that as far as fight against huge malaise like terrorism or corruption, etc. is concerned, it is never an all or none phenomena. It is a continued phenomena. You have to continue to fight against them. The best example would be, and my friend Jaiveer Shergill from the Congress party would agree, that despite the fact that one of the biggest deterrents against Pakistan was division of Pakistan into two. We had Bangladesh and we had the Pakistan previously being one nation. But despite that deterrent, terrorism did not stop from Pakistan. So surgical strike and thereafter all the measures that have been taken by the Indian government, the Indian army in a proactive manner, well, yes, definitely must have given a body blow to Pakistan, but what has to be done so that terrorism is totally wiped out is another issue.
Body blow to Pakistan, has that actually happened, Commodore Bhaskar? A body blow to Pakistan's state-sponsored terror with one surgical strike?
Well, I would say that if we review the surgical strike objectively, I think there was a certain tactical impact, meaning that when the strike was conducted and perhaps in the immediate aftermath, Pakistan was definitely jolted because they did not expect this kind of an action. And more than the action, I think the kind of political support and endorsement that it received in the public domain was the distinctive feature. Because it is not as if the Indian army has not carried out similar operations, but perhaps in a below the radar manner, it was part of the operational, shall we say, ethos. But now when I look back as an analyst, to me, Gaurav, there are two things. One is that the body blow, if I could pick up that particular phrase, I don't think Pakistan had sustained the kind of body blow that India perhaps had intended, because it also needs many tracks. I think Mr. Patra is right when he makes the point that we are dealing with a very complex challenge. And it's a proxy war. And this particular manifestation, I don't want to go as far back as August 1947, but definitely I would say it is somewhere in early 1990, when you see the problem brewing in Jammu and Kashmir as part of the blowback from Afghanistan, etc. But now as an analyst, there's one point I'd like to make, that one of the reasons perhaps why it has not had the long-term kind of strategic impact and why Pakistan is also able to get away with it for two reasons. One is the external support that Pakistan constantly gets from its support base, largely the United States and China. And secondly, I think there's a domestic issue which we need to ponder over. And since your program is India First, may I take the liberty of suggesting that when it comes to national security, we have political dissonance in India. I mean, we remember even immediately after the surgical strikes, it was not as if there was a kind of consensus within the country about that particular issue. You can go back further and talk about the India-US nuclear deal.
Let's take this issue by issue. You raised the issue of our political leadership and our political masters not being on the same page, and Jaiveer Shergill, the Congress needs to shoulder responsibility because there were Congress party leaders who were questioning the surgical strike, asking for evidence of the surgical strike, exactly the same thing that Pakistan was doing.
Which was wrong. Any Congress leader who questioned the surgical strike, we condemned it that time, and I still stand by that statement. Now, Pakistan is a thick-skinned nation addicted to terrorism. Surgical strike definitely sent a very strong signal, but India needs to increase the dose to tame Pakistan. A nation which does not respect its own citizen or its soldiers, refused to take bodies of the soldiers even in '99. And I think the Prime Minister was making that statement in London when he said, I called them and please take your bodies back. Number two, as far as unity between opposition and political parties, just as a suggestion, a three-pointer suggestion, if I may, because it's India. Firstly, I think the government must realize the ground reality at LOC. The government has taken credit for surgical strike, which they should, but equally 166% is the rise in civilian casualty, rise in infiltration and rise in security forces casualty. This is India Today own report. Secondly, I think the government must give a patient hearing and fulfill the needs of the Indian army, which are asking for more funds, and there is a shortage of funds.
I will come to, come to that
I'll
aspect.
just make my third submission.
Yes.
And I think lastly, broadly, the opposition and the government have engaged in Pakistan, but PM must realize that the Pakistan policy is becoming like an unsolvable puzzle, which the people of this country are failing to understand.
Okay. I'll come to that in a moment, because Pakistan is a difficult neighbor to live with, and General Kulkarni, few understand Pakistani military mindset, and that is where we must make a distinction. Pakistani civil society, Pakistani civilians, and the Pakistani jihadi military complex. So how should India impose costs on Pakistan to ensure terror is not a low-cost option for them?
You know what happens? Pakistan will continue to use terrorism as an instrument of state policy. There is no denying the fact that's the way it was. And right from the time of General Ziaul Haq, when he decided that it is jihadi and the entire Islamization and the radicalization that set in over there, the only way to sort out Pakistan is a punitive deterrence.
Punitive deterrence.
Pakistan must constantly feel that it's extremely difficult to deal with India. And now, when you come to the surgical strike, that was just one of the steps to be able to convey to them that, look, you do it and we do it at a point of our choosing. And the surgical strikes went 250 kilometers apart. They didn't know what was hitting them. The denial by them, and despite people from Pakistan and POK telling that there were soldiers lifting dead bodies, about 70, 80 of them that were transported, and they did not use civilians, which invariably they would, and they did not disclose where they had buried those bodies, is indicative. And thereafter you found that Pakistan is on the back foot. The number of ceasefire violations may have gone up, but it's on the back foot.
But where is Pakistan on the back foot, Sambit Patra? Because as Jaivir Shergill points out, there are military casualties that are rising. There are civilian casualties that are rising. At the LC, in depth areas, Pakistan is still creating trouble for us in Kashmir. Somewhere down the line, what is the government's Pakistan policy?
See, we have to understand the basics of the thought process, the philosophy of both the nation. As far as the philosophy, the mood philosophy of India is concerned, that is people first. As to how, whichever government it may be, our government or their government, it's always been, let's move ahead, let the people of this country get better jobs, development, etc., etc. As far as Pakistan's philosophy is concerned, their only philosophy is India down. That is what is the driving force. Anyway, they have to show India down. And as pointed out by the experts, Operation Topak, if I can rightly suggest, during Ziaul Haq's period, was the one, we are not going to win any conventional war with India, so let's bleed India to 1,000 cuts. This way or that way.
No, that we know now for 3 decades. So why are you not bleeding Pakistan through 1,000 cuts?
I'm answering that. Remember, when the strategy of Pakistanis are to bleed India by 1,000 cuts, you open 1,000 fronts of fight. It's not a conventional war, rightly pointed out by Sir, it's a proxy war. To fight a conventional war is far easier. You have a strategy in place, you have the army in place, you have all the different departments in place. But when it's a proxy war where you have sleeper cell inside, so I was pointing probably towards that, you have outside confabulations as well. In that issue, if you have a strategy in place, of course the strategy is not declared. We're the last person, the spokespersons of the party would be the last people whom they would be declaring the strategy. But what I have seen in the last few months, or year or two, Pakistan is I'm seeing them being isolated in all the fronts. For the first time, the Islamabad SAARC convention that was to take place was boycotted by all the SAARC nations. Never before had that happened. This January opened the first tweet of Trump was a Pakistan bashing. We had seen United Nations also bashing Pakistan.
If I may, and Commodore Bhaskar can correct me if I'm wrong, Jaivir, I'll just come to you in a second. The first country that was invited to Nepal, which is our brother, was Pakistan. The Pakistan army chief went to Maldives, our area of interest. So that's where there's a serious concern that Pakistan may be down, it's not out, and it's fighting back. A terror state fights back, Commodore Bhaskar.
No, absolutely right. I think, Gaurav, we need to also recognize that in as much as, we have an appreciation of Pakistan as something that is totally anti-India, as far as our neighborhood is concerned, and I think you're absolutely right in drawing attention to both Nepal and Maldives, that they find it, shall we say, opportune at this point in time to engage with Pakistan. Perhaps there is a China factor, but I do not want to detail that. I think the challenge for India, and since we are talking about the way ahead for India first, we need to, I think, really objectively review post-surgical strikes. This is something that Prime Minister Modi had alluded to in London also. But we need to be very candid about its cost effectiveness. And now that we have a new DPC,
yes,
the Defense Planning Committee, which is headed by the NSA, I think one of the primary tasks should be to see what are the options as far as Pakistan is concerned for the long term, which is bipartisan, meaning India is going for an election next year. Irrespective of who is the government, who is the Prime Minister, whatever strategy we are evolving for Pakistan should have that continuity, and we should be able to create those capacities that are not just military,
very important
multi-pronged.
Very important point that Commodore Bhaskar brings out. Pakistan will have elections in July. India will have elections next year. Now, as far as India is concerned, and Jaivir Shergill, on the other side of a quick break, I'll come to that point. Can India have a bipartisan Pakistan policy, irrespective of who the government in power is? Pakistan terror must pay. That and lots more. Can India have a bipartisan Pakistan policy? That's an issue raised by Commodore Bhaskar. Jaivir Shergill, is that possible? Especially at a time when you have opposition leaders not only questioning the surgical strike, but questioning the government whether the Pakistan policy works or if there is a Pakistan policy at all. So does the government need to engage more with the opposition, or the opposition needs to perhaps off the record have a meeting with the government, but be one where it comes to dealing with Pakistan?
The government and opposition will definitely be on the same page if the opposition knows what the government stand towards Pakistan is. That's first. I was on your show on 24th February 2018. You were anchoring the same show in India-Pakistan, right? Now, BJP will always talk about teaching Pakistan a lesson in speeches, but will be over-friendly, passionate exhibit towards them. What has happened after your show? The government has participated in Pakistan National Day. The India's defense attaché was in Islamabad. The government's minister was in Pakistan embassy here. On one hand, we have fiery statements to tame them down, we will not let them enter. Other hand, we are busy celebrating. If India can applaud America tough stand, it's high time the Indian Parliament, the opposition and the government sit together and review whether it is time to label them as a terror state, stop the MFN status, talk about industry tea. You can't have a Prime Minister can't be showing 56-inch speeches and participating in weddings in Islamabad.
Okay, please respond. Please respond, Sambit Patra. Sanjay Jain Kulkarni also wants to come in, but Sambit Patra, please go first.
No, I firmly agree with Commodore Udayji that on these issues there should be a bipartisan approach. But my heart bleeds, and in fact you would agree with me, all of you would agree with me. Leave aside, you can question in democracy the government, you can even abuse the government. But when you take this step a bit further, start abusing the army chief by calling him Sadak ke Gunde, it doesn't augur well with me at all. When you question something like Major Gogoi's incident, the former Home Minister on your channel, I believe, Mr. P. Chidambaram, was questioning what has happened with Major Gogoi. I firmly believe that is not the kind of bipartisanship that Sir was talking about, or we should be trying to achieve. Secondly, as far as celebration of Pakistan Day is concerned, even I firmly believe that we should not be celebrating Pakistan Day. But when you say that the MFN status, the most favored nation status and terrorist state declaration is concerned, it's not that terrorism existed only after 2014, came to existence only after 2014. They were for all these years in governance, but they never declared Pakistan as a terrorist state. But sir, that is why they were thrown out of power. Exactly. That is why you were brought in. But if you are following the same policy that they are... See, as far I'm answering that. As far as the most favored nation is concerned, the status is concerned, this government is of the view that on a platform of the WTO, the World Trade Organization, if we raise the issue, we would be in more benefit than trying to do it away on the floor of the parliament. So the government is moving in the best possible manner.
Okay, right. Is the government moving in the best possible way forward? General Kulkarni, is it then time for India to raise costs? You know, you've done one surgical strike and you say Pakistan was taken aback. Is it time to strike deeper and not militarily, or whatever means that the government may deem fit? Take out Hafiz Saeed, take out Dawood Ibrahim, take out a Masood Azhar, their terrorist training camps. Is that doable? Will that send a stronger message to a weakened Pakistan that Prime Minister says cannot fight us militarily?
You know, all these steps can be taken. It's nothing, it's not that it is impossible. The repercussions have to be seen. Now, Pakistan has almost become like a surrogate to China. Now, you find all along it was to America, and today it becomes to China. Now, we have got to handle our neighbors in a very, very reasonable. We are a democracy.
No, we are, but a democracy does not mean our citizens will continue to be killed.
No, you see,
a democracy means punish the people who are killing our people.
But there are means, and I'm sure we are doing it. But in Pakistan, who do you deal with? The most important thing is, who do you deal with in Pakistan?
Take out the terrorists.
All right. Now
we'll see who to deal with.
There's Indian army, the entire Indian army would deal with, say, the Pakistan army. Perfect. So there's a Pakistan army to be dealt with. There's an ISI to be dealt with. There are terrorist organizations to be dealt with. There's Hafiz Saeed and all these Haqqani networks to be dealt with.
Is that possible?
Is that virtually possible? There's so many small, and within Pakistan, there's a Punjabi lobby. There's a In fact, the dominance of Punjabis in Pakistan is so large that the Pakistan army is 80% Punjabi dominated. So where are the Baluchis there? Where are the Sindhis there?
That's the good point. Is it then time for India to harness the Pashtun unrest, the Baloch unrest, the unrest in Gilgit and Baltistan? Let Pakistan be a jelly state.
I'd say, Gaurav, that, you know, all these possibilities, whether it is the Baloch unrest at this point in time or the dissatisfaction we are seeing among the Pashtun and so on, these are options that India can examine, and if it is deemed appropriate at the highest political and military levels in this country, we can go down those tracks. My, actual larger, deeper point is that we need to create that capacity within the country to be able to deliberate over these in a consensual way, and then be able to proceed forward and create capacities. Now, I have said this in public and I'm repeating this again on your show. The suggestion that because Pakistan is investing in terror, in religious terror and radical ideologies, that India should go down the same route is not an option.
Yes.
I want to say that upfront. However, that does not mean that India does not have other options which can be pursued. And I'll give you one example. I think India did well in drawing attention to the Financial Action Task Force at the Global Forum.
Yes.
And I believe that Pakistan is paying a price.
Okay.
Prime Minister Modi made a very important initiative, but he did not follow it up when he once spoke out directly to the people of Pakistan and said that we have no quarrel with the civilian or the civil society in Pakistan. It is the deep state that is taking Pakistan down the wrong path. I think we had an opportunity post-surgical strikes even to remind the Pakistani people about the price they paid in Peshawar at the army school. So India's soft power, which has a constituency there, is something that we need to pursue, but in a calibrated and consistent way.
Okay.
That is not
Consistency is not there in the government's approach, Mr. Patra, before Javeer Shergill comes in.
No, I don't think he said that there is no consistency. He said that consistency should be there. Of course, everyone agrees to the fact that calibrated and consistent ways are the best ways. But let me take a few leaves out of this consistency thing. I mean, like the Prime Minister also addressed the Baluchis. If you would remember, he thanked the Baluchis from the ramparts of the Red Fort. You want that Pakistan should turn into a jelly state. Who does not want? I mean, it should disintegrate is something which probably every Indian wants, looking at the state of affairs in Pakistan. But there are certain issues which should always remain covert.
But is the Congress on the same page? Is the Congress on the same page? Let Pakistan remain a jelly state?
Let me come to that. I firmly believe that the Congress should be on the same page. I see no reason as to why the Congress should be thinking otherwise. But I am of the thought process that there are certain things which should be covert, which should not be even, it should be a hush-hush affair. The politicians, the spokespersons should not be speaking about whether Pakistan
No, but
should be converted
as
into
a
one.
citizen of this country, I should see it on ground. I should see Pakistan suffering so that my country does not suffer.
So I am not even in a liberty to say that, well, yes, that is happening on the ground in Pakistan, because if I say so, then I'm damned. If I don't say so, then I'm damned in a debate. But I believe that to be damned on a debate is better than to be damned internationally on the ground by declaring something over here. Thirdly and lastly, since consensus is what Sir has been speaking about long term, I want a question from my answer from my good friend Mr. Jaiveer. Remember one Doklam issue also, which was quite a huge affair. During that period, Sushma Swaraj, while speaking on the floor of the parliament, said that if you wanted any answers, I was more than ready to offer you all the answers.
Okay.
But why was it that you went to the Chinese envoy seeking answers? We were open, our gates were open. If you wanted consensus, you should have come to us. Why go to them?
Jaiveer Shergill, is a consensus there on the aspect of keeping Pakistan a jelly state so that Pakistan does not bleed India?
I think when it comes to Srimati Sushma Swaraj, sometimes she doesn't know what the Prime Minister is doing. She didn't know what was going on in Ufa, neither whether he was attending a wedding in Pakistan. Having said that, consensus is there, but what Commodore said, I want to pick building of capitalization. Gauravji, your channel did a report very recently. Today, Pakistan will remain like a spoiled brat. But is the government investing, supporting Indian army to fight Pakistan like it should? The army is consistently complaining that the government of the day has whitewashed their hopes. We have the lowest defense budget since 1962. You did a report, there is an ammunition shortage of the army. Lieutenant General Sarachand made us said that we needed 14,000 crore to build perimeter security after Pathankot and Sunjwa. That didn't happen. If you can waive off corporate loan worth 2,72,000 crore, why could you not give money to army? This is the report to parliamentary panel. This is not my last point. Last point.
One rank, one pension.
33. We are down to 33 squadron from 42 squadron. Again, your channel report. On one hand, shouting Bharat Mata ki Jai and Bhaiyo Behno alone will not enable us to fight Pakistan.
We need to attack the Prime Minister over here than Pakistan. That's an irony. And you want consensus.
These are realities that Pakistan sees, that we perhaps...
He has not brought a single paper against Pakistan. All the papers are against the Prime Minister.
I started, we are with you on Pakistan, but you can't teach me nationalism and have kheer in Pakistan.
That has to be said, otherwise there's no option.
You have kheer in Pakistan and I'm anti-national in my country. Very good.
You are having chow mein with Chinese.
Very good, very good. And what were you doing?
On General Kulkarni, Pakistan knows we are down to 31 squadrons. Of course, strong enough to take them, as the Prime Minister said. Militarily, Pakistan cannot stand in front of us, and that's a fact. Perhaps both the defense analysts on the broadcast will agree. But somewhere down the line, our defense preparedness is not what it should be. Vis-a-vis Pakistan, it is. Vis-a-vis China, it isn't. But does that indicate that? Is that why we step back?
No. These are some of the drawbacks of democracy, where everything is out in the open domain as to what it is. But this hollowness aspect that has been referred to hasn't come up yesterday. It's been there for a very, very long time. This hollowness has been raised again and again with various governments. See, capacity building takes time. There is no denying the fact. And intentions can change overnight. So capacity building is an ongoing process. Whatever is obsolete, obsolescence and the state of the art has to be constantly updated. So when the Vice Chief brings this to the notice of the Parliamentary Committee, it is always there. He has to bring it to the notice.
Singh as Army Chief had brought out in the UPA regime. So, Commodore Bhaskar,
I just want to make 2 points. I mean, this is the end of the show. One is, I think we need to recognize some empirical parts. I want to pick up what General Kulkarni said about India, national security and the hollowness that has been accreting over the years. Gaurav, the reality is the Indian Parliament has not had a serious discussion on national security and the deficiencies since Kargil. I have studied this very carefully. I'm talking about a serious debate which is informed, which is constructive and forward-looking. We have just had...
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.